So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be talking about the Indian Express newspaper. We will try to understand that what kind of happenings are which are there in the news. We will be talking about that and we will try to analyze that. When we talk about the examinations like UPSC, just reading the newspaper won't work. You have to have the idea about the issue. You have to have the analytical capacity. So that we will be doing over here. So let's start with the discussion. Here today we will be discussing these three topics over here, that is Supreme Court on DGP appointments in UP. Okay, recently there was this temporary appointment which has been done in UP, and considering that Supreme Court has got a petition and on which they have actually decided. Okay, then we'll be talking about that, and after that we'll be talking about can't change the rules of the game when we talk about the government recruitment, etc. So once the recruitment has started, once the notification is out, the process is started, government cannot tweak the rules. Okay, so that is what has been said by the Supreme Court. We will see what is the meaning of this rule of the game, what is the game over here. Okay, then moving further, bringing back airships. Okay, before these aeroplanes we had the concept of airships, but they could not survive very much because the aeroplanes the rate at which the aeroplanes has developed or the technology has developed was they has outspaced these airships. Okay, so we'll be talking about these airships and why is that we are talking about bringing them back. Okay, so this is the point of discussion that we will be dwelling upon today, and other than that we will be looking at the explanation of the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture, and facts of the day, constitutional amendment which is the regular course of action, and in the end there will be one article for your own read that is related to the minority status of the Aligarh Muslim University. Supreme Court will be deciding on that, so we'll be waiting for the decision, and meanwhile you can read that particular article. Okay, so let's start with the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture. How much of the loan amount is guaranteed by the central government under PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme? So we have seen the PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme yesterday, wherein it was said that students will be getting a loan up to 10 lakh rupees. Okay, and 75% of that loan, that is up to 7.5 lakh rupees, will be guaranteed by the central government. Okay, option C would be your right answer. Other than that, under this PM Vidya Lakshmi scheme, 3% interest subvention will be given to you. Okay, so this is about the scheme. Now before moving further, we are having this GS foundation course for prelims as well as mains in English medium in offline mode at our centers, that is Indore and Delhi. In Indore it will be commenced from 13th of November. In Delhi it is 26th of November. So you can directly visit the center and get enrollment done, or you can click on the or you can directly call on this number to get any kind of inquiry. Okay, so that is 8010440440. Before moving further, please don't forget to subscribe the channel. So let's start with the discussion today. First we will be seeing the fact of the day. Now there is this particular summit, Asian Buddhist Summit, ABS, Asian Buddhist Summit. This is the first of its kind summit which has happened recently. So recently the first Asian Buddhist Summit was organized by the Ministry of Culture and the International Buddhist Confederation in New Delhi. Okay, why this particular summit is important? Because when we are talking about diplomacy, one factor or one aspect of diplomacy is culture as well. Okay, you can say one is cultural diplomacy, second is your people to people ties. These things can also boost the you can say your tourism, etc. Okay, for that it becomes important. Now here you can see it is an international gathering aimed at fostering dialogue and addressing contemporary challenges in the Buddhist community across Asia. When we talk about Buddhism, you know that it started from India, then it has moved across South Asia. There was effort from Ashoka. He has sent his son and daughter basically to Southeast region, and we have seen that the Buddhism has flourished over there as well. Okay, so they are trying to create a circuit wherein these Asian Buddhist countries, they will come together and talk about the contemporary issues. Okay, theme of this particular summit was the role of Buddha's Dhamma in strengthening Asia. Okay, a special exhibition titled India as the Dhamma Setu or the Bridge for Dhamma connecting Asia, highlighted India's role in spreading Buddhism across Asia. Why it is important for India? Because considering the India's Act East policy and neighborhood first policy, it becomes important for us. Okay, so please remember that the first Asian Buddhist summit has happened, and that has commenced in Delhi. And there was the theme, which was role of Buddha's Dhamma in strengthening Asia. Other than that, there was one exhibition that was titled as India as Dhamma Setu. Okay, so that is about the fact. Now moving further, we will be talking about the constitutional amendments. Okay, we have talked about the 24th constitutional amendment. Now today we will be talking about the 25th Amendment Act. Okay, yes, Mahendra and Sanghmitra, these were the name of the, you can say, son and daughter of Buddha, which was sent to the South Asia. Okay, so moving further now, curtailed the fundamental right to property. Now we know that 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act was the one wherein we have abolished right to property from fundamental right. Okay, now from 42nd Amendment, it was not you can either it is 42nd or 44th. You can check and tell me. Anyways, from that particular point of time, we have abolished the right to property as fundamental right, but we have made it as a legal right. Okay, legal constitutional right. Now, when we are talking about the curtailing, 25th Amendment Act was the one wherein we have curtailed it. We have put some kind of restrictions over it. Okay. Coming to the next one, provided that any law made to give effect to the directive principles contained in the Article 39B or C cannot be challenged on the ground of violation of rights guaranteed by the Article 14, 19 and 31. Now, if there is some kind of affirmative action which has been, you can say, started by the government, okay, under article, or you can say under the enforcement of the Article 39B or C, this is a DPSP. Okay, so if government is going for implementation of any kind of provision which are related to Article 39B or C, they will not be challenged for the violation of the fundamental right under Article 14, that is equality, freedom of speech and expression, and Article 31. Okay, 31 is basically your exception to the fundamental right. So basically they are saying that here 39B and C, despite being DPSPs, these two will have a, you can say, prevalence over the fundamental rights. Okay, I hope that is clear. What is a legal right? Okay, legal right is a right which is having a source, or you can say a legal source from which you can derive the authority. Let's say when we talk about the voting is your right to vote, is not your fundamental right, it is your legal right, because there is a statute which is talking about this particular right. Now when we talk about the constitutional, in the constitution, apart from the fundamental rights, there are various legal rights which are mentioned in the constitution. One is your right to property. Okay, so that is mentioned in the constitution. So there is a legal source which is giving you, you can say, authority to go for this particular right. So that is why it is called legal right. Fundamental rights are those rights which are mentioned in the constitution under part 3. Okay, so under part 3, if there is a right which is mentioned, that is basically your fundamental right. Okay, other than that, if there is a right which is there in the constitution, that can be your constitutional right or legal right. If there is a statute which is giving a backing to a right, that will be considered as a legal right. I hope this is clear. Okay, yes, 39B is the one wherein right to property was inserted. Okay, this is 300. Okay, now 31st Amendment Act. Okay, we have gone through the 25th, now 31st. Increase the number of Lok Sabha seats from 525 to 544. Now you will be saying that where is 26, 27, etc. Those are less important. I'm not saying that these are not important, but we are discussing the important articles for your examinations. Okay, so after 25th, we will be focusing on the you can say 31st. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Now we can move further to the next one, that is basically starting our discussion for the newspaper. Okay, now why Uttar Pradesh has introduced new rules for appointing its police chief or appointment of the DGP levels. Okay, there was this guidelines which has been given by the Supreme Court with respect to the appointments. Okay, and Supreme Court has said that until unless a state brings on its own law, okay, in its own act, till then they have to follow these guidelines. Okay, now Uttar Pradesh has framed new rules for appointing the state's Director General of Police, that is DGP. This comes after the Supreme Court's you can say last month, in response to multiple petitions which has been filed, because there are various temporary appointments has been happening. Okay, temporary appointments means that the government is going for the temporary DGPs, and there was no tenure, there was nothing. So you can say that there was some kind of executive control which was there. Okay, considering that there are various petitions which has been filed in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has given some direction for the appointments. Okay, so here you can say it has issued contempt notice to the 8 states including UP for appointing temporary DGPs. Okay, now in the last 2 years UP had 4 temporary DGP. Okay, that means that if we consider when we talk about the last 2 years, we have the 24 months. Okay, and we had 4 DGPs. That means that on average there was a DGP that is there for 6 months only. Okay, now wherein Supreme Court has said that there should be a you can say tenure that is 2 years. Okay, anyways, we will be seeing that sorry, petition have argued that this is in violation of the apex court's judgment which is given in 2006. There was this case, Prakash Singh case. Okay, that is a landmark case with respect to the appointment, wherein they have talked about some directions which has been given with respect to the appointments of DGPs in the states. So in that Prakash Singh case, they have given some guidelines. Okay, so in violation of that, they have gone for the appointment of the temporary DGP, and that is why this petition has been filed. Okay, so petition has argued that this is in the violation of the apex court's judgment in 2006 Prakash Singh case, which sought to free police leadership from the political interference. Okay, fixing you can say a particular process for the appointment, or getting it out of the clutches of the executive, that means that you are reducing the political interference. Okay, and that has been done in the Prakash Singh case. Now what are the new laws? Now the Director General of Police Uttar Pradesh selection appointment rules. Okay, what is there is that the state of UP, they have come up with the rules. In the judgment, the Prakash Singh judgment, etc., the Supreme Court has said that until unless state comes up with their own act. Okay, there is a difference between act and a rule. Rule can be bought by the, you can say, normal executive things, but when we talk about the act, that will be from your assemblies, that will be passed from your state assemblies. So here government has come up with the rules, and that is against the Supreme Court's previous order. Okay, so it was cleared by the state cabinet on Monday. According to these rules, UP's DGP will be appointed by a selection committee based on her remaining tenure, service record and experience. Okay, so based on the tenure, service record and the experience, they will be going for the appointment, and there will be a selection committee. Okay, only officers with a minimum remaining tenure of 6 months from the date of creation of the vacancy would be eligible for the appointment as DGP. If there is a person who is having a remaining tenure that is 5 months, he will not be eligible for that. Okay, so that is there, and minimum tenure would be of 2 years. Okay, so that is there. Now here in this case, we have seen that in last 2 years there were 6 DGPs. That means that they have served for like some 6 months only. Okay, now coming to the next one, the selection committee will be headed by the retired judge of the High Court, and it will include UP Chief Secretary and a nominee of the Union Public Service Commission, that is UPSC, the chairman or the nominee of the Uttar Pradesh Public Service Commission, additional chief secretary, principal secretary, representative of the home department, and a retired DGP. That will be the select committee or selection committee. You don't have to remember all these things, just know that it will be headed by a retired High Court judge. Okay, now this has essentially reduced the role of the center in the appointment by eliminating the process of sending a list of the offices to UPSC. So if we talk about the existing practice, what is happening is that there will be a list. Okay, state government will send a list to UPSC. UPSC will go through that particular list, and that they will recommend nearly 3 names. Okay, they will recommend 3 names, and out of which state has to appoint a DGP. Now if when we are talking about UPSC is an independent body, but still there is a influence which will political influence are always there. Okay, now here you can see existing practice. If we talk about Supreme Court direction in the Prakash Singh case, which we have already seen, that is a case from 2006, state government is supposed to send to the UPSC a list of senior most eligible officers in the state, and then that is 3 months before the, you can say, expiry of the tenure of the existing DGP. Okay, now they will consider based on the seniority, service record, integrity and the field experience, send 3 names back to the state. One of these 3 will be appointed as a new DGP. Okay. So this is basically the current practice. Okay. To eliminate this sending names etc., they have come up with this select committee and the new rules in the UP. Okay. DGP so appointed should have a tenure of at least 2 years and should have at least 6 months of the service left. Okay. Now here you can see, until states enact their own police act, that has been talked about in the Prakash Singh case. In the Prakash Singh case, they have said that until the state governments come up with their own, you can say, act. Now here you can see, notably the current UP Prashant Kumar is the 13th in the senior state. Here we have seen that when you are sending the list, you are sending the senior most officers in the list. The current DGP, that is Prashant Kumar, that is the person who is 13th in the seniority list. Okay. So that is, you can say, thereby you can see that some kind of influence was there. Anyways, these are just speculations. Now see, do UP's new rules comply with the Supreme Court direction? So there is a yes and there is a no. Okay, why yes? Because minimum tenure of 2 years and a minimum remaining service of the 6 months for before the appointment, that has been given by the Supreme Court over here, and they have actually kept it in their rules as well. But the second thing is, Supreme Court has said that you have to make your own act and not rules. So in that sense, you can say that this is not compliant with the Supreme Court's, you can say, judgment or the direction. Okay, so were to be bought in by enactment of a police act, but here they have gone for the framing of the rule of the on the basis of the Indian Police Act of 1861. Okay, now UP has only framed rules and very smartly picked up paras from the Supreme Court judgment, giving a sense that it is in confirmation with the directions. Okay, so basically we can say that this is not in the, you can say, somewhere they are going for the violation of the directions as well, and somewhere they have followed it as well. Okay, now what did the 2018 and 19 apex court judgment say? So there was this Prakash Singh case which was there in 2018. There was this case wherein they have followed the Prakash Singh's judgment. Okay, intervention application by the Prakash Singh, a bench of Justice A.M. Khalinkar and D.Y. Chandrachud said that the state could not appoint temporary and the acting DGPs. Okay, so that is one thing, that state cannot do it, but they have done it here. So that is against this particular direction. Okay, as far as practicable, should not appoint IPS officer as DGP unless they had 2 clear years of the service before them. Okay, so it is clear that if they have 2 years of the service, then only, if as far as possible, you have to go for such person. Okay. Now this was later modified and restricted to the at least 6 months. So earlier they have given that a person who is having 2 years of service, he should be appointed, but afterwards they have said that at least 6 months should be there. Okay. 2018 judgment, if we talk about, any legislature rule framed by the state or the center which runs which runs counter to the directions shall remain abeyance to the aforesaid extent. That means that if something is violative of this particular thing, that can be the contempt of the court. Okay, so I hope that is clear. We have talked about this thing over here. So specifically speaking, here background we have talked about, you can go through this particular slide. UP has implemented new rules so that political interference can be reduced. Here is the new rule which they have said that they have come up with the rules 2024, and they have said that there will be a person who can be appointed as DGP who will be selected by a selection committee, and selection committee will be headed by a retired High Court judge, and there will be other members as well. Representation from the UPSC, State PCS board, and the, you can say, Home Department will also be there. Okay, and this person who is been appointed, he will have minimum 6 months before the retirement, and maximum tenure can be of 2 years. Sorry, then you can say that the tenure can be of 2 years. Okay, moving further now, here existing appointment procedure, which we have already seen, that there is this list which has been given by state to the UPSC, and UPSC will suggest 3 names, and out of these 3 people, one of them will be selected as the DGP. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now we can move further, and again here also they have said that the as far as possible minimum tenure should be of 2 years, and at least 6 months if the person is retiring. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now we can move further to the next one. That is, recruitment rules for the government jobs can't be changed midway, says the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court thus they held that the rule of the recruitment for the public services cannot be changed once the process has begun unless the rules provided so and there is a compelling public interest. Okay, until unless there is a compelling public interest, there is something which is grossly going wrong. In such cases only you can go for the tweaking with the rules. Otherwise, whatever you have published in the notification and if the selection procedure has started or the recruitment procedure has started, then you cannot change it. Okay, so that has been said. The recruitment process commences from the issuance of the advertisement calling for the applications and ends with the filling up of the vacancies. Eligibility criteria for being placed in the select seat notified at the commencement of the recruitment process cannot be changed midway through the recruitment process unless the extant rules so permit or the advertisement which is not contrary to the exact rules so permitted. Okay, so basically they are saying that until unless it is very necessary, you cannot go for the changing the eligibility rules midway of the recruitment process. Okay, now there was two cases which has been mentioned over here, that is K. Manjushri versus State of Andhra Pradesh and Subhash Chandra Marwaha case, which has been discussed in this particular you can say observation by the Supreme Court. But you don't have to remember all these things, just know that you cannot tweak the rules. They have also mentioned one concept, that is you can say rules of the game. Okay, rules of the games means that this recruitment process is the game. Recruitment process is the game. So once the game has started, okay, until it actually declare the winner, by in between you cannot change the you can say rules of the game. Okay, so that is basically a concept which has been discussed over here. The law governing the recruitment must conform to the overreaching principle of the principle enshrined in the Article 14 and the 16 of the Constitution. Okay, now if you are going for tweaking in the rules in between, that is against the right to equality. Okay, so that is why they have mentioned that if you go for the tweaking the rule, that is against the Article 14. Anyway, sorry, the law governing the recruitment to public services has been colloquially termed as the rules of the game. The game is the process of selection and the appointment, which we have already talked about. That is called the rules of the game. And doctrine prescribes the changes of the rules midway through the game or after the game is played is predicated on the rule against the arbitrariness enshrined in the Article 14 and the 16 of the Constitution. So basically they are saying that if you change the rule, that is against the Article 14 and 16 in the Constitution. Okay, these two articles strikes at the arbitrariness in the state action and the ensure fairness and the equality of the treatment. Okay, so basically you cannot change the rules of the recruitment process midway. Okay, the same thing is written over here. The Supreme Court ruled that the recruitment rules for the government job cannot be altered midway during the selection process. 5 judgments led by the Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud state that once the recruitment begins with the advertisement and the application process, the rules in place must be followed until the process is complete. Eligibility criteria, selection method and the recruitment process are bound by the rules set at the beginning and cannot be changed arbitrarily later on. Okay, until unless there is a public interest attached to it. Okay, now we can move further to the next one. How climate change is bringing back the idea of airship. There is this picture which is given. In this particular, you can say ship like you can say structure which is in front of you. Okay, let's say this is your airship. Inside this there will be a gas. Now there can be two gases. One is your hydrogen, second is your helium. Now why these two gases? Because these are the light gases. Okay, now you need to have a gas which is lighter than the atmospheric gases. Okay, if the gas is lighter than the atmospheric gas, that means that will rise over the atmospheric gases, and that is why you will be seeing that if you have a helium balloon, okay, you must have seen in the childhood that there are balloons which are has the tendency to go in the you can say air. So these gases which are filled inside the you can say balloon is basically your helium gas. Okay, helium is the lightest gas. So considering that, it will be going to the you can say atmosphere, or it will rise above. Now Similar concept was employed in this particular airships, wherein the hydrogen and the helium gases would be used. Now helium is a gas which is not abundantly you can say found on the earth's crust, and that is why they have gone for the hydrogen initially. But hydrogen is a highly inflammable gas, it will catch fire, and because of which there were some incidents which has happened, and then they have to shift for the helium. But the thing is, as I told you, that becomes costly endeavor for particular. They have given a data over here that if you have to lift 1 kilogram, 1 kilogram of weight will require at least 1 cubic meter of helium, and that will cost around nearly $35. Okay, so that is kind of costly. That is one thing. Second thing is that there was this challenge with respect to the buoyancy. Buoyancy is a force which is basically exerted by a fluid on a body. Okay, so let's see, if you have a bucket which is full of water, okay, and you have put a ball over here and you are trying to push it, you will feel that there is a force which is acting against your force. Okay, you are trying to push the ball down the water, but there is a force which is trying to keep the ball upside. Okay, so that is what is your buoyancy force. So there is this one force, that is your weight, and from the fluid there will be one force which will be you can say working on this particular object, that is called as buoyancy force. Okay, so that is basically a buoyancy force. Now with respect to these airships, they were actually used for transportation of the goods, okay, shipments, etc. Here you can see in this particular picture, you have this carriage which is there. Okay, passenger car is there, or the you can say some kind of shipment can be there. Okay, and it is taking it. Now the thing is, this particular thing taking away this particular you can say passenger car, there are some people which are inside it. Okay, at the destination these people will get down. Okay, now this car is empty. Now how they will balance the weight? Okay, so that is the challenge which was there because of the buoyancy. Okay, and second thing is, at the same time, the airplanes, the technology was enhancing, then aeroplanes were actually getting, you can say, foothold very strongly, and that is why the concept of airships has been vanished. Okay, but recently few companies are trying to get it back, because we have seen that there are various challenges to the climate because of the greenhouse gas emissions, etc., vehicular emissions, etc., and the aviation industry is one which is contributing the most, and that is why we are trying to find an alternative. Okay, so this can be one alternative. Okay, this is a picture. Inside this particular, you can say structure, we will be having the gas. Now these are the cables which are holding this passenger car or the shipments. Okay, now when we are talking about the buoyancy, here you can see, when a body is immersed in the fluid can be your gas or water. Okay, so in case of the gas over here in the balloons, that buoyancy force will also work over here. Okay, so when a body is immersed in a fluid, or an upward force is exerted by the fluid on the body, that is the upward force exerted by the fuel on the body. Okay, this upward force is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the body, and it is called the force of buoyancy. Okay, now as I told you that let's say there was this particular car which was there, and it was having some passengers. Okay, and they have actually got down. Okay, because of which the weight, or the you can say whatever weight was there for the stability of this particular airship, that has reduced. For that you have to make some provisions, and in that case you will be relying on something called as ballast. Okay, ballast weight are the weights which are basically, you can say, these are the dense materials which are used as a weight to provide stability to a vehicle or the structure. Now to make sure that the, you can say, the weight remains stable, you are using ballast over here. Okay, so that is one solution which can be done, but that is a complication which is there. There are various companies which are working on that. So that is basically your concept of airships, airplanes, buoyancy forces. We have seen how airships work. As I told you that there are gases which are filled inside it, and these gases are light gases. Okay, varying buoyancy is the challenge, because once the whatever weight is there that has been unloaded, then there will be a challenge to make sure that the you can say particular airships remains stable. Okay, for that you can use the ballast. Okay, But if we are trying to look at as an alternative to the airplanes or for the commute etc., that is still a far cry, because obviously there are various challenges which are there. Okay, but this can be an alternative to the aeroplanes or the whatever aviation sector vehicular emissions are there, which we can try to reduce by introducing airships. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now we can move further to the next one. India offers Afghan businesses Chabahar port for trade discussions, and discussion has happened on the humanitarian aid. Okay, so our, you can say, joint secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, he has visited Kabul, and he has visited the former president as well. Here you can see in this particular picture, he is with Afghanistan's acting defense minister Mullah Muhammad Yaqub. Okay, and wherein they have discussed that they will be giving the Chabahar port, or they will be giving Afghanistan's business access to the Chabahar port. They can use the Chabahar port. Okay, so here you can see, if you look at, this is the Kandla port, this is your Chabahar port, which is there in Iran. Okay, and from Iran we have this you can say land route, which is there Jahedan, Jarenj and Kabul. Okay, so this is there in Afghanistan. So since Pakistan and India is not having very good ties, so for that we have to find an alternative route to Afghanistan, so that will be acting as an alternative route. Okay, now till now India was using this port, now Afghanistan's business can also use this particular port. Okay, so that is Chabahar port. Okay, now there is this Gwadar port. Here you can say this Chinese presence is there in Pakistan. In the Gwadar port there is Chinese presence. Okay, so that is one important thing which you can remember from this particular picture over here. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Other than that, they have talked about the humanitarian aids etc. Though India does not recognize the Taliban as the official government in the, you can say, Kabul, but still we are providing the humanitarian aid. In the past also we have provided, and in the future also we are looking to provide humanitarian aids over here. Okay, here you can say India does not recognize the Taliban regimes that has been ruling Afghanistan since 2021, because that was the time when USA has left the Afghanistan, but has been providing the humanitarian aid, including wheat, medicine, medical supplies to the Afghan people from time to time. Okay, so that is one thing. The important factor over here is that the Afghan business can use the Chabahar port, and Chabahar port is important for us. Okay, now we can move further to the next one, that is, in 2036 Olympic bids, India underlines its religious diversity and the silk and spice route. Okay, so we are looking to get to become host for the 2036 Olympics. Okay, so we have actually wrote a letter putting forward our case. So let's say India has bid to host 2036 Olympics, emphasizing its religious diversity, ancient trade routes and the cultural heritage. The Indian Olympic Association IOA letter to the International Olympic Committee IOC highlights the India's commitment to peace and inclusivity, citing the phrase that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one family. Okay, so with this what we are trying to do is we are trying to go for the sport diplomacy. Okay, you will tell me in the comment box that what do you understand by this term, that is sport diplomacy. Moving further, the letter outlines the India's strategic position along the Silk Route and its cultural diversity and the economic growth. When we talk about the ancient ties etc., we were on the Silk Route, so we had better ties with the various countries, because if China has to go to Europe or Europeans has to go to China, they have to pass through this particular region. Okay, so that is there, which has been mentioned over here. Then India also highlights its young population. We have a demographic dividend. Okay, so considering that we have over 600 million people under 25, making it an attractive host in terms of the human resources and the global influence. Hosting the Olympic is presented as a chance for India to further connect sports to infrastructure, tourism and the economic development. Competing countries in the bid includes Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and if we talk about the IOA, aims to secure 2036 games, marking an important milestone for the India in the global sport diplomacy. Okay, so that is something you have to remember, that India is trying to get to become the host of 2036 Olympics. Okay, moving further, in the IR there was this one thing which has happened. Canada blocked the OC site showing Jaishankar and shows hypocrisy, said the Delhi. Okay, so basically there was this interview of S. Jaishankar which was actually been aired on the Australian channel, and you can say Canada has blocked it. Okay, so again here they have said, Jaishankar has said that this shows hypocrisy of these people, because when they are talking about the extremist group which are there, and for them they are vouching for the freedom of speech and expression, and then there is this you can say channel by an Australian firm, and they are saying that you cannot air that particular interview, now that is against the freedom of speech and expression. So that shows some kind of hypocrisy, because of which what will happen is that the ties between India and Canada, which were already tense, becomes even more sore. Okay, so here you can see the Canadian move to block Jaishankar's remark in the latest in the row between the two countries has been seen as diplomats being recalled, and some senior charges has been traded. Okay, so that is something which has happened in the India-Canada diplomatic relations. Relations soared after the Canada blocked Australian site featuring Indian Foreign Minister Jaishankar's interview. India calls out hypocrisy. India accuses Canada of limiting free speech while allegedly supporting the anti-India groups. Okay. Then security concerns, if we talk about that, Canada has cited security issues while removing that interview. Jaishankar's assistant in Australia, Jaishankar criticized Canada for failing to control extremist elements in Canada, which are anti-India in nature, and wider impact which we talk about, that is obviously that will impact the India-Canada ties. Okay. So that was just one passing reference which I had to mention. Now here you can say, affecting mental peace and health, Australia bans the social media for the children under 16. Okay, so that is one thing which has happened. If in some kind of PCS examination, if they ask that which country has recently banned social media for you can say kids who are under 16, so you can tell that it is Australia. Okay, now in the end, we have this one particular article for your own read that is related to Aligarh Muslim University verdict in the top court today. The case and boss are at the stake. Okay, so the case is basically to decide the nature or the characteristics of the Aligarh Muslim University, whether it is a minority institution or not. Okay, now the thing is, you have to go through this article, you can understand the issue. Otherwise, when the judgment comes, we will be talking about that article. Okay, so that is about today's discussion. In the end, we have this question for your practice, that is, what does the rules of the game principle refers to in the context of the government recruitment? Options are: allowing changes to the recruitment criteria after the application process start; B, ensuring all participants in the recruitment process follow the same initial rules; C, encouraging flexibility in the recruitment rules; and D, applying rules for future recruitment cycles. Okay, so you can attempt this question, answer to me in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Thank you, and please subscribe the channel.